There's my checklist. Okay, that's the end of my checklist. And it's working because you can hear me. Yes, that's right. Okay, we're all good. Okay, rocking. It's been a good week. So anyway, well, just grab yourself a drink. I'm drinking water. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. And have a listen to some photography stuff. There's some news. $500,000 camera, $500,000 lens. I was reading about that this week. My goodness. We'll talk about that. The $500,000 question in a little while. We're here for an hour. I might go for a little bit over. I probably won't. I started at 8:04 because there was slight things. So, but as I kind of as this has been going, this is only going to go for about 3 or 4 weeks. But somehow I'm kind of like, yeah, stuff it. Keep going. The crowds are asking, or I don't know how many there are. There's always questions at the end. So, but I have been asking people to send me questions, send me things, and one that I did actually, one that I keep getting asked because look, some of you know this whole Photo Joe thing. That it's kind of new. It's like probably the last year or so. It was a COVID thing. COVID, that thing that happened. Yeah. So I think we'll talk about that. No, we won't. Where did Photo Joe come around? I thought, I'm going to use Photo Joe. And it was only because I was talking to a couple of people and they said, oh yeah, you're in my phone as Photo Joe. And I was like, well, I guess when I go somewhere and I'm Photo Joe, hey, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and all those other places, YouTube. Yeah, all those YouTube people out there who are watching live as well. Thank you for joining me. That's where I got Photo Joe from. So from people like yourselves who kind of have me on your phone. Actually, why don't you send me a question? Now, I wanted to create a poll. What is in your phone? So if I do that, I can do that as a poll, right? And I meant to know that a little bit easier. And now I don't know because I've written the question, but I can't remember. Well, don't worry about that. We won't worry about that. We'll worry about that next week because I was worrying about so many other things today. But you can write it. You can write it on the message thing there. If you could just go, my name. I mean, I know, Craig, you're going to be, I know, but, I don't know. Other people, what am I in your name? Anyway. So yes, so that was a question that was sent to me through the week. I did get another, look, someone actually said, hey, what's been one of the funniest things that has kind of happened to you through your, photography life? And we all have kind of little stories, yeah? I know that, and one day I'm going to work out how I can kind of bring people in, and I might get, my mate Craig will kind of, we'll have a double whammy talk thing, like a Zoom, but without the Zoom thing. Yeah, if that makes sense. I really hope. I just thought I should just check to make sure that all my tech is working, right? Because I'd hate it if my tech wasn't working, and I think it is. Yes, it is. Good. It's working on my website. So for those people who are next door or any of the other groups, the Glebe group and the Newtown Peacham group, if you're watching off the website, welcome to the show. People throwing questions at me, and one of the ones, yes, was what's a funny story that happened to me? And a funny story as I was teaching somebody, we were going through it was like a 3-hour session. They were doing some product work, showing them how to use that. And at the end of the session, it was all really kind of cool. And he said, hey, listen, I've got this group of people who we're photographing. Do you know anybody who shoots that stuff? And I was like, yeah, I kind of do that as well, and he was like, oh, really sorry. I kind of thought more the fact that he just taught all the time. So it was kind of a strange one. I guess people just think that I just teach and I don't actually, I do shooting. So, yeah, I do. So, hey, we can kind of we're out of the streets almost. We're almost out of the streets. I almost have a haircut. And I must say that, almost having a haircut means that I still have a scary haircut. It's kind of tamed at the moment. But in the mornings, now, look, if there's anybody there who's younger than 18, Don't watch at the moment. Okay, so this is what it looked like this morning. Oh no, it didn't look like that at all. How funny. It looked like this one. Whoa! Yes, that's actually how it looked like. What can I say? What can I say? Yes. Wow, I gotta say that the wax is doing mighty fine on the wax there. So we will work towards getting a haircut very, very soon, very soon. So welcome if you've just joined us, hanging out for the next hour or so out there in YouTube world, and also on Facebook Live and on Twitch. You're out there as well eventually. So what's been going on? What has been going on? What's been going on is I've been getting on the internet and kind of checking out. There's this place called the Wetzlar Camera Auctions. Let me tell you, if you want to kind of really just, I don't know, drool about camera. As you see, I've got this kind of area at the back here, right, with cameras, right? And cameras, like, I guess over the last few years, last 10 years, as soon as the camera's out, it's almost like a car that the thing just it devalues in no time. So camera gear has that issue as well, new technology. So what about old technology though, right? It's like old cars, right? Maybe something that I've got on the wall there is going to be really kind of cool, right? But the Wetzlar Camera Company. Now, Wetzlar Camera Company, Wetzlar, have I said that enough times? Wetzlar is in Germany. Germany is where Leica is, Leica Cameras, and Leica Cameras are in Wetzlar. The factory's in Wetzlar. Even though I was in Solms, because they had kind of gone to another place, but now Wetzlar is the place. If you ever get a chance to go out there, I will try and get out there. So there is a camera auction place out there that offered this mega lens that was going to be billed as like incredibly rare, and incredibly rare that it was billed as you're not going to buy another lens like this again. So it was a Canon 1200mm f5.6. Okay, then. So an f5.6, which is that big thing there that's kind of just been running a little bit earlier than I anticipated. But I guess what you kind of need to do is, like, it's a big lens, right? So if I kind of give you an idea of how it compares to the size of other lenses, right? So it's a Canon EF 1200 5.6 lens. Now, at the moment, what you can get is a Canon 800mm, and that's around 13 grand. Okay, so it's a 5.6 f-stop. Now, the lens was originally manufactured in the 1990s as a limited quantities, and it was special order only. So there was no there was no lens built unless you actually paid, right? So that was the kind of deal about this lens. So you had to actually pay for the lens before they started to make it for you, making you this lens, right? Now, the reason it was orders only is because the lens was actually mega difficult to make, as it took a year to build each of the lenses, right? 1 year to make a lens, right? And much of that time was actually spent growing the massive fluorite crystals required for the lens, right? So the lenses itself, right, were made of fluorite. So in Canon, the fluorite glass is like the cleanest glass that you can get through them. So, and if you ever see their lenses, they'll have a green band on them that they're saying that they're using fluorite lenses, right? So this 1200mm f5.6, there's 13 lenses inside. Well, they call them elements, right? 13 elements in 10 groups, right? And the closest focusing distance is like 14 meters, right? So now it's huge, right? It's like mega. It's got built-in ultrasonic motors. And it's got a filter, like the filter, obviously you imagine the filter to be on the front. This is just using like a front of that. That's just not going to happen, right? So they have drop-in filters, which is a 48mm. That's a 49mm that kind of just pops into the near the body. So they have drop-in lenses. And you'll see, if you ever see big lenses, they have drop-in filters, not at the front, but they have them just near where the lens is, right? So it was thought that less than 100 of the lenses were actually made, right? Because they were on special order. But they reckon that the actual number was probably closer to 20 of them. So, 20 of these lenses got made. And so, like, it's like, how many of these are going to be around, right? So the original list price Canon was doing was $90,000. And the company would supposedly make 2 of them a year. That was kind of the idea, right? Now, if you've ever been in the photography world long enough, or you've kind of heard about a place called B&H, B&H cameras in New York, right? So they had one there for like 120,000 in around 2019, right? So apart from them just having a couple of them, there was really just no opportunity to actually buy this lens, right? So anyway, the Wetzler company, they got hold of this lens in just this year, in 2021, and there was pretty much 2 people who were on the phone bidding for this lens that has been considered the highest price actually ever paid for a lens, which was like 500,000 euros. It was around $580,000, right? Yeah. So just wild. I guess it's just, you kind of think, a lens like that, right? So I mean, like, how limited is it? How many other lenses are out there that are going to do? What are they going to use this lens for, right? What are they going to use this lens for? I guess in a way, you kind of, there's the bird watchers, there's the baseball. Now, the baseball is a big thing, right? Size does matter. I'm just looking at some of these questions. Sorry, I just have to read some of those. Oh, thank you very much, gentlemen. Oh, there's 4 people watching. So 580,000. So look at that lens. It's kind of like huge, right? Now, I guess when you think about there's this, right? This is 70 to 200, right? 70 to 200, 2.8 lens. This thing is like 5 of these put together. 5 of these put together. And it's an f5.6. Now, the thing is so what? Well, in the early 90s, Nikon actually had the biggest zoom lens, right? So it was I think it was like it was a 800 to 1700 mil lens, and it was 5.6, the maximum opening of 5.6. The lower the f number, the more light that comes in, right? So when it zoomed out to 170 mil, which was more than this, right? It went down to f8, not much light. It was apparently used at some major baseball game in Japan, big in baseball, right? And the whole idea was the concept that you could sit in the stands and still get the action. So Japanese are a little bit out there for their long lenses. So, but I guess 580,000. I mean, I know some of you have got big lenses, yeah. You're kind of shooting like Uncle Frank's. He's out there. He uses a 400 mil lens. He's down beside watching the airplanes going off. I've had a 400. I've had a 1,000 mil. I've had a 1,000 mil lens. I kind of wish I still had it again, but I got another camera out of it instead, so it was kind of okay. How much zoom is too much zoom? I don't know. You could always let me know how much zoom is too much zoom. Some of you are probably more wide angle. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to talk about. Yes, because that lens, there's a lot to do with lenses. So if we look at this lens here, for example, here we have a zoom control, and we have a manual focus, the focusing control. So you'll see as I turn, nothing is moving. Right? You don't actually see. It's called internal focusing. Internal focusing. Expensive lenses use internal focusing. This is not an expensive lens. This has not internal focusing. Well, it does. Actually, no, it doesn't, because there's so we have on the front here, and I'll just put the camera into manual focus. On the front there is the focusing control, not internal, and the zoom control is also not internal. So cheaper lenses, more entry-level lenses, it's a cheaper way of making lenses. The quality of lenses ain't so great on those as internal lenses, right? But it's all about horses for courses. It's all about, how good is the quality of lens? Well, it all depends on a lot of other factors. We've talked about those factors. A lot of photography factors that we've been talking about. We've been talking about photography factors. And I guess over the last few weeks, another question that I got asked was, Joe, how do you, what are the things you think about when you're working, when you're about to take a photo? We're looking at the composition. We talked about composition. We talked about keeping the camera still, that you're not holding the camera out in front of you, and that you've got your camera in nice and close to. And here I should be having my camera here. That's so I can give you demonstrations. Yeah. So yeah, not this kind of thing. It's not easy. It's not easy to hold a camera like that. It's not easy to hold a camera when you kind of like imagine that you're trying to take photos like this. That's not an easy thing to do. You can't take photos like that. That's just like you're on your knees. You've got to, it's just not the right way to do it. It's like, you don't hold the camera out in front of you, especially if you're using long lenses. We've talked about that, all right? Then we talked about the composition, the rule of thirds, yeah? Making sure that not always that your subject is always in the center of the picture. We've talked about leading lines. We've talked about negative space. This is what stuff we've all spoken about already. And then there's the aperture and the shutter and all that stuff. But so with all of that in mind, right, the next part you're going to look at is the light. The light, or the lack of it. Yes, the light. And over the last few days, I've been, if you've seen my Facebook, if you're following me on Facebook, you'll have noticed that I've been down near the water. I've been playing with a lens baby. A lens ball. Yes, you'll see some lens ball images in time, in weeks to come. Playing a lot around the coast, looking for areas for some shoots, some workshops. That's kind of what I've really been doing. But it's all about the light. The light's been really beautiful in the morning and really beautiful at night, but I'm kind of getting it in the middle of the day, right? And somehow, something that we all tend to do when we go on holidays, which we're going to do again, we might go out through the middle of the day and we might go, wow, yes, I want to take photos and I'm going to have the composition. I'm going to have all that stuff that we've been talking about. And the light is going to be the light. And that light generally for a lot of the people who I've seen is between the hours of 10 and 3. Not a great time, people will say, because it's all about the light, harsh light. Harsh light, good light. It's good to photograph on a cloudy day. I've said that. Why would I say that? Because the light is more diffused. When we are on a really mega kind of sunny day, we get very, very harsh shadows with our photography. Now, one of the things that I talked about over the last few weeks was that, when we're playing with the exposure triangle, which is about getting the exposure in the middle, right? If we have a very harsh light situation where there's lots of darkness and there's lots of brightness, that we will then use the control like this one known as the exposure compensation. Now, for some of you who have actually used this setting with me, it's really like just making the picture brighter and making the picture darker. Now, that's all well and good. That is all well and good. And, you look at situations like this, for example, where you've got this incredible darkness and lightness, and you think, well, is that the right exposure for the shot? And so by using the exposure compensation, you can influence the settings that the camera has chosen to brighten or darken the picture. That is simply what it does. Now, you might also encounter yourself that you're taking a photo where the background is quite bright. And so you are then, you're playing with the exposure compensation to brighten the image so that your subject is bright, or to the right exposure is what I'm more trying to say. But you'll find that the background has overexposed because you're having to overexpose the image to get the subject that you're looking for. So you're kind of out in the backyard. Oh, hello. My hand's disappearing back here. It's not supposed to do that. I have to change that. I can't have that. That's just not a right thing to do. But it's going to. It's just what it is at the moment. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Oh, hello. So that didn't work. Let me just try that again. That was what I was supposed to do. Oops. So last couple of days, taking pictures around the coast, but also in the garden, because hey, in the garden we've got stuff growing. When you've got stuff growing, you think, well, I might want to take a photo of it. And you kind of see that the sun is right, like straight above me, that sun is, and it's pretty harsh because you see the background of the light there. Look at that back wall, all dark there, all kind of light here. You know, the sun is coming from above. But hey, I'm shooting straight into the leaf. Now, that's what I got. That's what I got in that shot, right? And you kind of looking into the sun. I was actually like shooting into the sun. Slight lubrication there. And, that's the shot I got. On a tripod, you gotta use a tripod, right? Folks, you gotta use a tripod. But what happens with that kind of harsh light, right? So here we have, now this is little flower in the back. And if I was, as you can see, the light, there's a very hot spot. You can see the hot spot of where the flower is white and the tip is purple. Yeah, on the right petal there. On the left petal, that whole petal is white, just totally washed out. The sun right above. It's just a mess. It's all over the shop. Now, what looks better is that you can now see, right, that the flower doesn't have that incredible white spot. Yeah? Look at the difference there. So, obviously, there's a diffusion of the light that's going on in here, right? And the diffusion of the light is making that image more pleasing. Have a look at this shot. Now you can see the distraction. If you look at where the little pistils are in the middle, if you look underneath onto the actual petal itself, you'll see that the petal has the shadows of those little pistils there, right? Have a look now. You see that? Look at that. See how those pistil shadows have just disappeared. And in fact, you'll also find that other areas of the plant also lights up. Look behind the pistils there, there's a shadow on that black petal there, which now just lights up. So the petal itself in front is shadowing the petal, and that's why you're getting the shadows. Shadows is kind of, shadows can be used, all right. We can use shadows by all means. But what you've got to kind of be aware of is where does that shadow going to work for your shot? I mean, you can tell for a shot like that, it's a perfect situation. So how do you kind of do something like that? How do you diffuse? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have one of these things. Look at this thing here. Oh, I'm behind the picture again. All I'm doing is literally diffusing the light that's actually going onto the plant itself. That's all I'm doing. Oh yes, because we all carry one of those around in our backpack. Well, you probably could actually, because it's not that big. It's all about. But there's other many ways as well. Some of you have been out with me, and I kind of stand in your light, and you go, "What are you doing?" Standing in your light, because I'm just basically hiding the light, giving you that beautiful, soft, diffuse kind of light. Did I say that? Diffuse kind of light. As against that, look at that yuckiness. My God, you're so all kind of listening. It's amazing. Thank you very much. Didn't they have to grow the glasses? Don't they have to grow the glasses? Oh, sorry, that's a little bit further back, that conversation. Thank you. Oh, hello. I got it. Oh, Geez, there's a couple of YouTube people out there as well saying hello. Well, that's kind of nice. But you can see how this flower, it just does not look the part. Just not right. It's just not right. And that is a lot better. Again, it's just because of the harshness of the light. Look how nice that looks. Look how nice that looks. And I guess the thing is, you know, when it comes to photography, there is so much that you're trying to work out. You know, am I in the right position? Am I, you know, do I have the right settings? And this is all about, you know, where, you know, you've got to just sometimes just go with the flow, just kind of press the button, put the camera into automatic, and not so stress so much about where your settings are on your camera. Let me just say, though, I would suggest that a good thing to do would be, if you're pretty much just in automatic, is to set the camera to a RAW file, shoot in a RAW format. By shooting in a RAW format, that then allows you to then, at least if if you want to manipulate the image, you can manipulate it as if you were like taking it at the time, because the RAW file has so much more data that allows you to then, if the camera got it wrong, yeah, because you're in automatic, or it didn't get it to how you wanted to get it to, because you had so much going on. Imagine, you know, in a street shoot, right? You're doing a street photography situation, and you're just trying to visualize and position where you want to put the subject, yeah? So by having to put the camera into automatic, at least you have the opportunity to just press the shutter button and just get the shot. Bugger, the light was a bit wrong. Well, that's okay, because you've shot it in RAW mode. Now, I can tell you, most of the times, though, depending on the camera, if you put the camera into like what I call green box. So if you've got like Nikons and Canons, you put the green box setting on the top there. You'll find that you probably can't put the camera into RAW picture taking mode. But if you put the camera into P for program, that's like automatic, at least you can put the camera into RAW mode and still play with those images. And you know, when you're playing with very high contrast images, and I'm not saying that a shot like that, you're going to be able to, you know, you're certainly not going to be able to create that. That's not the possible. You know, you just can't do that, right? It's not like you can do that. But if the overall image, so if you've taken the shot already with a diffused light, yeah, if you had already taken the shot and you might have over or underexposed it, or, well, it was not even necessarily over or underexpose it, but just say, for example, like the shot that I had a little bit earlier here, which was the, what was that shot? I'm just looking for that shot for you, folks. Oh, yes, that shot there. Well, yeah, it's coming. So for that shot there, for example, right? Now, some people would have said, oh, okay, so there's a couple of ways of taking this shot. Yeah. So, you know, I could turn the flash on. If my camera's got a flash, I can pop the flash up. And this is not, if it's not in full, you can't have the camera in fully automatic situation here. And if you're out there, I know that some of you out there are listening. So here's a little tip, right? Because that's what this show's about. Tips, as I find them, is that I could put the camera into People Program and put the flash on, called fill flash, forced flash. And I could actually light up this subject's face. Alternatively, the cameras, they have different metering systems. And you've probably seen that. You've probably heard the word spot metering, average metering, evaluative, matrix metering. So these are words of the different metering system out in cameras. So a matrix or an evaluative, which is what it's used by the main companies, the Nikons and the Canons, their metering system works at looking that whole image, and that image has a few different aspects to it. The bell is dark. The subject is dark. The background is light. So the camera is looking at the light and also the light, the darkness behind our subject where the wall is. So there's a bit of a dark area there. So we've got, three darker areas, a quite a bright area behind. How does the camera evaluate that situation to be able to get a shot that is correct? And that's part of the computers that the cameras are having to work. They're working out the differences in light and dark areas there to evaluate what is the right exposure. And in most cases, it actually gets it wrong. Something like that is actually a little bit hard to evaluate because it kind of, the camera's also, not only is looking at the light, it's taking the average. So is there more dark to light or is there more light to dark? It probably thinks there's more light to dark in the shot. So in a lot of cases, when you're looking at a photo like that, you're getting an underexposed shot. So our subject then becomes dark. And so the flash lights them up. Or we use the exposure compensation to brighten up the image. Or, right, that's that plus minus control that we were looking at before. Or we change the metering system of the camera. So instead of evaluative, we use spot metering. So now that the camera is more looking at the light of where you place the spot, it might be the spot of the bell. And this is something that as you look at that shot, for example, as that shot is being taken, you've got people behind you who want to get their shot taken. You can't muck around much. You got to kind of nail it. You got to know what you're looking at. So a perfect example of like, okay, what do I do to get this shot? Well, most cases, if you're using a phone, you just get a dark person. You can't see them. Yeah? So that's why the importance of actually looking at the shot before you press the button to make the decision of, do I have the camera in the right kind of setting to get that shot right? It could be different. You look at the camera, this shot here, for example. This is a shot here where the camera, the exposure is much, much harsher because it's pretty much, we're sitting inside a car here. I mean, the white area back there is totally blown out. You don't see nothing there. You ain't seeing nothing there. Well, I'm hoping people are out there. So, how you play with the exposure, where if you're shooting in manual, you'll have this total control of what is, what you can do for the shot. Absolutely, you have this total control. But the total control of what? Mirrorless cameras have pretty much, they've changed the way we look at photography, because an SLR camera, the optical SLR camera, you have a light meter inside, and you know that in the middle, when you're adjusting your aperture and your shutter, when you're in the middle there, it's, that's the average exposure. Well, that's all in good when you've got, pretty even light. But what about when you've got a shot like this, when it's so harsh, that lighting, then, what is the camera reading? So do I want the face of my subject to be more lit? But, when you look at the shot there, it's so, so moody. The lighting on the both sides of the face are just so, so awesome. So, in a DSLR camera, when you're just looking at the light, I mean, what you look through the viewfinder is what you see if you don't have the camera in front of you. Today's mirrorless cameras, because they have electronic viewfinders, what you see in the camera is what you're actually getting. So you can adjust the exposure and actually see that result in the viewfinder. This is something that mirrorless cameras has really kind of made quite a difference in our photography, because we're getting the shot right, and we almost, it's the what you see is what you get concept, and you don't have to then muck around with it in a Photoshop environment. So, when you kind of, when you're shooting in such incredible harsh lighting, you got to just think about that process of like, well, if I'm a bed of flowers, do I look for the flower that doesn't have all the sun on it. I mean, if you look at it, if you're getting a huge bed of flowers and the sun is all over it, yes, that's kind of where all that beauty is. But when you're looking up close, you saw in our example the differences between having a diffuse light or not having a diffuse light. In fact, the light that's on me is diffused. I didn't even know. I mean, I have a light above me which is not diffused, and you can see the brightness on that. But hey, yeah, thank you very much for lighting. And I think I got a bit of sun the other day. So yes, so another thing for making a photo zing. To look at the light. Look at the light. I'm always looking at the light. When you're taking just brains going everywhere here, thinking, oh yes, oh yes, and that. Stop. This is a big trick here. An early trick for people who are trying to work out where they're going to position their subjects to stand, and if you put your hand in front of you, it's not like saying, I don't want any photos taken. Like, no photos, thanks. No photos. But you can kind of see the lighting in front of your hand. So if you consider that your hand is your subject's face, and if you're up against a very bright light, right? For example, our shot before. What was our shot before? It was that one, yes. When you kind of go, let's try that one. Thank you very much. So, obviously if I put my hand in front of my face there, my hand's going to be pretty dark, and I would have to actually take... oh, yes, hi, thanks. Sorry. I get a little bit distracted when I see messages. I love my messages. I should actually just be more professional and just listen to the camera, talk to the camera. But hi, Brad. Thanks, bro. Thanks for coming all the way from Innisfail. Woo! Topping in Queensland. Mighty hot up there. Oh my God, yuck. Sorry. I'll come up in July next year. Yes, sorry. Let's get back to the conversation that I was talking about. So with the shot here is that if I put my hand in front of me, my hand is going to be quite dark. So I know that I will have an issue with this photograph. So that was just one of those other tips about putting your hand in front of you. So I'll have a quick look. At messages. Thank you very much. Thanks for people. I'm assuming things have been working okay. I started at 8 o'clock. It's a Thursday night thing. It could change. I don't necessarily think that, I could stay on Thursdays all the time. I don't know. I might do a Tuesday night. I don't know. Is that a better idea? Is Tuesdays better than Thursdays? Or is Wednesdays better than Mondays? Still trying to work that one out. But anyway, it's 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock because daylight saving and all that stuff. And now it is now time for, I forgot, it is now time for the Vintage Jam. Oh, heck, if I don't take the piss out of myself, who is? Everybody. Oh, hello, everybody out there in TikTok. Oh, not TikTok. I don't do TikTok. Well, not live anyway. The Twitchers out there. The people up in all around the world. So the Vintage Jam. As this show is called the Photo Jam, and people kind of say, why photo with an F? Because photography in Spanish, which is my background, I'm the Spanish man who speak Spanish. Hello from Malden. From the Spanish man, photography is spelled with an F, right? So, and I'm thinking about going in and out of photography. Well, hello from Malden, all the way from sunny Malden. We'll be coming down to Melbourne soon. I think they're going to let me in without having to quarantine. We'll kind of go down there. I tell you, I'm hanging out. I'm hanging out to kind of go to places. Malden is one place. Far North Queensland, another day. It's just too hot out there at the moment. But we're going to talk about the Vintage Jam. And today's Vintage Jam, I thought that I would talk about the fantastic, the most amazing, quite influential camera that we have actually that we've seen in our lifetime, which is the Kodak Instamatic. The Kodak Instamatic, boy, there are certain cameras out there that obviously inbred inbred into our psyche the whole concept of photography. There's the Olympus trip, right? There's the Instamatic. There's the Polaroid. There's these names. I mean, I don't know. Some of you can remember. Remind me. You can think of them. I can't remember all of them all by myself. But the Kodak Instamatic. And part of my collection at the back there, I've got a Kodak Instamatic, which is known as the 204 Instamatic. The 204. Now, some of you, I'd be curious to know, what kind of Instamatic you might have had. This is my old one, right? She's a little worn one. Now, this is not one that I actually personally used. Some of the cameras that I've got on my shelves there, I've picked up along the way. Just certain, probably a shop. I kind of went, oh yes, I'll kind of grab that because I like it. But this one, apparently, it's not the one that I'm trying to find the Instamatic that I used to use, which I've never kept, unfortunately. But this one here, the 204, it was made by Kodak. It used 126 film cartridge, right? So this is the thing. This is the thing about photography, right? When we look at photography from its initial time, it was magician stuff, right? God, a man puts his head under this like cloth, and then comes out and he's taking a picture of me on a piece of glass, and so that's very magicianal kind of stuff, right? So you got to kind of think, well, okay, I think as far as photography goes, it's going to be something that only, people who, professional people. So they kind of come along and they just, you don't do it. You just don't do it yourself. You just got somebody to do it for you. And then all of a sudden, the box brownie comes out. And the box brownie says, hey, you can now have this box and it takes picture. It's not on a glass plate though. It's on a piece of plastic. And so here, that kind of was cool, but you still have to roll the film, and that means spools and stuff, having to put the film in there, and you got to spool it up, and that didn't always work. How many times did you think you had spooled the film through, and then you got to roll picture 27? You thought, well, this roll is I only got 24 out of this one, but I'm on picture 27 now. There must be something wrong here. So then all of a sudden, that was also a bit hard for people. And then the Instamatic said, hey, hello, drop in cartridge. All you got to do is buy a roll of film that has a drop-in cartridge. And all you have to do is close the back, press the button, take some photos. The front there, you'll see that there's weather symbols. So you turn the dial on the front. If it's like really sunny, you kind of make it to the like really sunny area, which is a bigger aperture number. Or you scroll it up to the top, which is the 90 or 90, not the 90, the darker situation, or cloudy days, you need more light. So that would open the aperture up. And then on the side there, you'll see that there's like there's a little black lever. That little black lever, what that used to do was pop the little flash up that was on the top of the camera. So the camera itself would have the little pop-up area at the top there, which I thought I had an image for you, folks. I really did. And I obviously don't. Oh, I was so disappointed that I thought I did. Sorry, folks. But you'll remember where we used to use the flashes, these things. See those? Yep. And that used to sit on the top of the Instamatic cameras, yeah? So the Instamatic camera, it was sit on the top there, and then you just press the button and take some pictures. Now, the Instamatic inside pretty much is just, you just load it up with this cartridge. So it had the weather symbols. Shutter speeds were a 40th of a second and a 60th of a second. And the Kodak lens, which is made by Kodak, was an f6.6. So f6.6, not bad. That's why people used to say my old cameras used to be really sharp because they were very kind of high apertures, like numbers like that for a non-zoom lens, and so things look pretty sharp. That was just how it worked. It used the flash cubes, and it used yes, the film, which I had a picture of the film, which looks like that. You can still buy it for $19. I saw it on eBay that this place was selling it. Well, at least it was up for bids anyway. But I guess when you look at how photography has changed in our lives, what photography, the different cameras that we've had throughout life, how we've been able to take photos. I have to look. I'll read back there in a second. Photography was this big box, Ansel Adams big box under a cover, taking pictures, hat over the front. It just took a long time. You had to then take the glass plate out, you had to kind of under the arm, take it back, process, bromide, chemicals, stuff. Then it goes into a smaller box, right? So this thing goes into a small box, no bigger. My goodness, that wasn't expected, but I guess I wasn't thinking. But down to the box brownie camera, box brownie, woohoo, yes. So all of a sudden, we now have this huge thing in the palm of our hands. Look, it took time. It took time to kind of have to get used to opening these things just like that, right? Oh my God, I've left film in there. No. To have to work out how to bring a roll of film over there and under there and under here, and then close the box in very kind of controlled situations, and lock it lock it with these little levers on the side there. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? And then I just go click, and that was the shutter, and then I go click again, and that's the shutter again. It's just like that's the shutter. On the side here is another control. But we went from that to the Instamatic Camera, right? Where all you had to do was put a box of film into the back, close the door, take your picture, put a flash on the top, right, for those lights, for those dark situations, and all of a sudden, you've got instant pictures. I think there was like 12 pictures. Somebody might kind of remind me that. I don't know. Now, I just had a look here. Esme Walton had the box brownie. I guess that's Esme from A Country Practice. She had, there's country practice people out there. You would know that. Winter is good. Summer's too hot. Would love to see photos that you take in Innisfail. Your take on our town. Well, this could be a moment. This could be a time when I get up there, up to Innisfail. I did go to Paranella Park. Paranella Park was pretty cool. If you ever get up into the coast, if you ever get up to the far North Queensland, go and check out a place called Paranella Park. Pretty kind of cool. Made by a Spaniard. And when you go there, you kind of think, wow, this is like 1940. It was kind of Second World War. So 1940. It looks like it was like even older. But it's kind of fallen apart because, unfortunately, the Europeans that came out, cement wasn't their forte at the beginning. It took a little while until they got that sorted out. But anyway, going back to, what I was saying, the instant camera, how that world has changed for instant photography. And I guess the phone has really proved how instant our photography is getting to today. I mean, some of these shots today that I'd taken, I'm now using my phone because it's just easy, and it produces not a bad image. I'm still going to go and take pictures of serious things, and I'm going to use my camera. In fact, I will show you some really cool things next week that I did with water droplets and an iPad. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse of that next week. That'll be exciting to have some ideas. Now, don't forget, right? As we kind of come up to the end of our show, where I basically spoke for a whole hour of photography things and more, you are either watching this as a delayed catch-up TV kind of. That's the terminology that's used nowadays. Or you're watching this live, which thank you. You're either on Twitch or you're on YouTube, and you're going, really? Seriously? But all I got to say is that when you go and take a shot, I want you to be more aware not of the exposure compensation, making that exposure. But if you don't want to work with exposure compensation, you're thinking, oh, I think that's just too hard to think about, then get the light right. Okay, that means that when you're taking that shot, think about the light. Is it harsh? Oh, is it harsh lighting? Maybe stand in front of the plant. Stand in front of whatever subject you're actually going to be shooting. Yes, you might lose some of your light, but at least you won't have the shadows. That might be the way to do it. What's the way do you want to have that shot? Look at how harsh. Look how hot. We call that hot. Look how hot those petals are. You don't even see the color. As soon as you diffuse the light, voila. Now this is straight out of camera. This is not. I didn't muck around with this shot. This is just like straight out of the camera, just by putting a diffuser straight in front of the light. So the diffuser just made life so much easier. That's all I did. See me, look at me there, right? So all I'm doing is just like bang, bang. I mean, those diffusers, they're like $20. If you ever come to one of my workshops coming up real soon. Yes, that was a question. Oh yes, that was a question that I got asked. Am I going to do one of those fire ones again? So fire one. I'm going to do one of those fire ones. But that's all I used here. I won't use a fire one for this. But look at that. Diffuse light. And that's how I got the result from that. Not from that. That's yuck. That's yuck. That's so yuck. Look at that. Look at the difference. Why do we want to have a shot that looks like that, right, when it can look like that? Well, that's what it's all about. It's all about the light. Yes, that's the aperture. You might be looking at that shot and saying, oh, hello, Joe. Look at that blurry background. You must have used like a really low f-stop lens on that one there. And I did. I used a macro lens. I'll talk about macro lenses one day in amongst all the other photography things that we'll talk about. And before we go out into the workshops out there, if you're interested in coming to a workshop, you just got to get in touch with me. Yes, you can do that. Come and get in touch with me. Drop me a note. Get in touch with me. I know there's a few of you out there who are still hanging on, and we're coming up to 9 o'clock, and that means that I have spoken an hour on photography where we talked about a $500,000 lens. Did you miss out on the $500,000 lens? Well, if you rewind back, you'll get to see the $500,000 lens. $500,000 sold an auction. Started off at $90,000. You can rewind. You can see it all back there. This is what I look like this morning, just so that you can kind of get an idea that when I woke up, I thought, my goodness, I've got a show to do tonight. I know. Crazy, isn't it? Who would have thought? This is the website that people will be visiting, which is smarterdigital.com.au / live stream. All I can say is thank you for starting late with me and letting me finish on time. It is now 9 o'clock. It is Thursday. If you're taking shots and you're going to send me stuff and you want to think, oh, I want to send you something that would be relevant to what we're talking about today, do a shot where there's shadows and that you were then, you made the effort to not have shadows. All right then, so if that's what have that effort. So try that, send it to me. I'll talk about it next week. Next week, I might even talk about the camera that I put up on my Facebook today. Everybody said, "Oh my God, is that your camera?" And it isn't. It's a little movie camera that I didn't talk about today, but I might talk about it next week because I just happened to have found it. And Brad, I have to thank you because I think I might have followed one of your posts, and that's where I got that picture from. So please be safe. Please, I don't know, wash your hands. QR code or in all the places that you're meant to. It's all gonna be hugging and kissing and cuddling and just officially, and we're all gonna have. Well, we're not gonna do that at our workshops. I better just kind of make sure that we don't do that at our workshop. Well, there's all these people who are kind of like that are just rocking up. Hi, Lee Vera. It's late. I'm about to finish up. So thank you very much. Rewind. You can rewind and still leave your message. And thank you very much for all the support, especially this last week. It's kind of been a little bit of a dodgy week for reasons that October is really, it's an all right month, but it can be better. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. My name is Photo Joe. You have been at the Photo Jam, and all I can say is keep taking lots of photos, keep in touch, and bye for now. Am I off yet? I don't know.